I'm only taking one step at a time towards healing myself. I had to get out, I found a way out. No more living in pain or misery. It's all about protecting my energy. Keep the negative away from me, because I am just keeping my peace. Cut off everything that no longer was serving me, and I chose to start loving myself. I walk in my purpose, no looking back, I'm only going with it. B.O. standing there, a better version of me. I must say that I'm proud of me. It's not about how you feel, I'm living proof that God is real. So let me show you how to heal. Damn it, I'm wearing it well, cause I came a long way. My journey isn't yet complete, that's what it look like to heal. Damn it, I'm wearing it well, I'm proud of myself. It's nothing to it, you can do it, all you gotta do is just fight through it. Creative soul, creative soul, creative soul. Just fight through it. Creative soul, creative soul, creative soul, creative soul, yeah, yeah.
Welcome to Pain to Purpose podcast, where we have open discussions to heal together as a community. Today, we have a special episode with Miss Skye, and we are talking about PMDD. So thank you for tuning in to Pain to Purpose today. I pray that you learned something, get something out of this message. Welcome, Skye.
Thank you, Carmen.
How are you?
To be here. I'm good. Can't complain.
Thank you for coming on to educate us. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So before we start, I want to tell our audience that we do have Pain to Purpose t-shirts as well as Pain to Purpose tumblers that you can order. All you have to do is email me at creativesoul.business@gmail.com. Again, that's creativesoul.business@gmail.com. And just let me know that you want to order a t-shirt or a tumbler or both. They both are available. Do not forget my first book, Tears of a Shattered Heart, is on Amazon, as well as my second book, Affirmations, the affirmation coloring for little girls called Wonderfully Made, that you can purchase also on Amazon. All right, so let's get into it, Miss Skye.
All right.
A little bit about yourself.
Sure. I am 45 in the beginning early stages of perimenopause, which is a doozy. Currently going through divorce and on the journey of rebuilding my life after a marriage of 17 years, and also healing from a disorder that almost ended me, the PMDD.
Okay. So I am really interested in this because you don't hear about this as often as we should. So I'm going to give you the floor so you can educate us.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. You are right. It is something that pretty much every person I've told I've had this, they're like, oh, what is that? I've never heard of it. Mm-hmm. And what's astounding, now, figures vary. It's anywhere between 1% and 9% of ovulators around the world are estimated to have PMDD, and that's premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And when you think about the sheer numbers of that, that is tens of millions of us that have this disorder.
Okay.
Now, it's a hard disorder to live with anyway. To be officially diagnosed, it has to be completely preventing you from living a normal life, right?
Okay.
So either in your career or your relationships, the symptoms have to be disabling, essentially, in order to get a valid diagnosis.
Okay.
But for many of us, and I'm going to use the statistics in a report, a study published by BMC Psychiatry. 72% of patients with PMDD planned suicide.
Okay.
And when you're looking at tens of millions of us and 72 million were planning suicide, and it just gets more scary. 49% actually intended on committing suicide. 42% prepared for the eventuality of suicide. And 34% of us actually attempt suicide. And I was one of them. I attempted it twice during my PMDD episode. And it's scary because I am, like many other PMDD warriors, that's what we're known as, warriors. I'm a pretty happy person in my normal life. I'm an optimist. I look at the sunshine and I look at the sky and I'm a happy girl. So when this thing comes up and it takes all the color out of life, it's scary. Those impulses.
Okay. So can you tell us a little bit about what happened with you, with your story? Do you mind sharing?
Sure. Thank you. At first, I believe I've had PMDD since I first got my period. Symptoms for me were extreme anger that didn't match the situation at hand. Also, extreme extreme sensitivity to rejection, right?
So were you waking up angry?
Oh, sure. Or like anything could set me off and just set me up to 10, even if it's something that just might annoy me otherwise.
Okay.
Yeah. My relationship with my mom, I was raised by a single mom, got really bad. I mean, I was kicked out a lot. She called the police on me, because my behaviors were so erratic. So I think PMDD was at play even in my early teens.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And then that anger followed me throughout the years. And I thought I was just broken. I thought I just was an angry little bear. And not all the time, but sometimes I just thought I could pop off. And when I turned 40, more symptoms came about. So the suicidal ideation started around 2020.
Okay.
There was also just this general dissatisfaction of life. My mood swings got bad. I couldn't hold down a job where I've been working since I was 15. I've always been able to work, but working became impossible. Just the cognitive functioning took a hit. It was hard to write emails and find my words. It was hard to understand directions and follow through. Even driving was a challenge. I mean, I ran through 2 red lights in a year, just complete brain fog. I'd say that the most disruptive symptom, the most disturbing, was the suicidal ideation and just wanting to be free of this disorder, because it took all the light out of my mind and my heart, and I couldn't see a way through it, and my marriage suffered. And yeah, it was just a downhill road with this.
So your husband knew that you had this, but it was hard to deal with.
Yes. Now, it's hard for any romantic relationship, actually any relationship with someone with PMDD. But my ex also he wasn't well suited for a woman with mental illness. He wasn't willing to go to support groups with other PMDD partners to learn more about how they were navigating this disorder. He wouldn't go to counseling and get the support he needed so that he could come to the relationship strong and be able to handle what was going on.
I think a lot of people are just against counseling, period.
You are not wrong there.
It's just kind of like, it's the stigma. We talk about that a lot on here. The stigma and the fear of the unknown. And then there are some people that's just like, nobody's going to tell me what to do.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And, like you said, the fear of the unknown, what if they find out, what if I'm broken? What if I find out I'm broken? There's so many fears that people have with counseling. And I've been going to counseling since I was 5. So for me, it's just like brushing my teeth, So yeah, our relationship really suffered. And the more the disorder dug hold of me, the more he would kind of, I hate to use such a hot button phrase, but it's what it was. It was gaslighting. He would make me question my reality. He would deny when he did things and make me feel like I was going crazy. And when I'm already battling my brain telling me stuff, that's just
Right.
absolutely detrimental. Yeah.
And how did it affect your children and the rest of your family?
Thankfully, we didn't have children. And I cannot imagine what it's like to be a mother navigating PMDD. And so many out there are doing it. And I can't even imagine how they do it. But it definitely impacted my relationships with friends and with my mom. And yeah, because it makes you want to draw into yourself. So I would just ghost people for weeks at a time, where I'm typically a pretty engaging person. And I like to know what's going on with my loved ones and like to be involved in their lives. But this thing would just make everything impossible. I couldn't reach out.
It's so important that when our loved ones or friends are going through something, that we're there to support them and not judge them because they're going to counseling, or not judge them because there's a mental illness going on. You can always go to counseling with them if that person feels comfortable with you going. You can pray for them. If you can't do nothing at all, you can always pray.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it is so powerful when, as a concerned person who loves someone who's going through some stuff, just getting that text or call saying, hey, I have a feeling you needed to know that you're awesome today. Or I know you're going through some stuff, so I just want to remind you what an amazing person you are. Those are so monumental for someone who's suffering from profound mental illness.
But what's amazing too is that when you know something's going on with you and you actually reach out for help, when you go to the counseling, when you're not in denial and you're like, I need help, I can't do this by myself. I know I need to pray. I know I need God. I know I need to, get the counseling that I need. I need to do the inner work as well. And a lot of people, they're not open to that either. So because they're not, they tend to, I call it bleeding on others with their pain.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Personal opinion, but
No, it's absolutely true. And we're in a society that we talk a lot about mental illness, and we talk a lot about people who are struggling, but when we actually see it, suffering is ugly, right? Suffering makes you react and makes you act in ways that isn't palatable, right? So we're not trained as a society on how to really be there when we know someone is suffering. We just do that toxic positivity, like, oh, just think about the bright side, which is not very helpful.
So what's the treatment plan for this? What is, I want to know the treatment plan, and tell us, like, what does everyday life look like getting up with this?
Sure. So unfortunately, since we're all so different and we all have different bodies that react differently, there's no one specific treatment plan that works for everybody.
Okay.
So the first line treatment is typically going on a birth control pill. A very popular one is Yaz. It's developed with PMDD in mind, and it's a high estrogen birth control. And just to kind of back up a little bit, PMDD is not a hormone disorder. It's an allergic reaction in the brain to the fluctuations that we go through every month with our rising and our falling estrogen and progesterone.
Okay.
So the birth control helps just kind of keep that estrogen at a level where it doesn't dip too far and create those huge lows.
Okay.
Another first line treatment is a SSRI, or antidepressants. There's a few out there, but the two that I hear the most from PMDD warriors are Prozac and Zoloft. So I held off on taking an antidepressant for probably too long because I had this pride and this ego saying, well, I can't be on an antidepressant because that means I've got something I can't handle myself.
Well, and then people will try to make it seem like you're crazy because you go to the doctor, because you go see a counselor, or because they, tell you need a certain type of medication. People will make fun of you. They'll make it seem like you're crazy. They'll make it seem like you're the worst person in the world. But truth be told, everybody is going through something. We're all unique, but we all go through something. It's a matter of how we deal with it. Everybody's story is different. My story is not your story. So your treatment may not be my treatment, just like your purpose is not my purpose. Like, we all have different pain, and everybody's purpose is different. So we have to acknowledge them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So
honoring that.
Right. So do you know anybody else that is dealing with this? Like anybody else in your family?
I suspect that my mother had it. I suspect that my grandmother had it, because there were cyclical kind of changes in mood. And it is thought to be hereditary to a certain degree, but there's also one very common marker is childhood trauma, which I had a lot of that as a very young child. I don't know anybody else in my family who definitely has it, but we have very extreme PMS in the family.
So how did your mother respond to this?
Ooh, it was tough. I tried to be very transparent with her and let her know about my battles with suicidal ideation, because that was the scariest symptom I had. And it was so unlike me as a person. And I don't think she got it. I think she wanted to deny that I could possibly be that low, that I could possibly consider ending my life. And so she was not quite as involved in my path with PMDD.
Okay. So what advice would you give to someone that think they may have it, or if they're dealing with it?
So if they think they may have it, some very common symptoms to look out for are that anger that doesn't match that situation, right? Extreme sensitivity to rejection, extreme mood swings, the highs and lows that come just about that week before the period starts is when the worst symptoms typically happen. For some of us, it happens around ovulation, but the main window is about 7 to 10 days before the period. There's great tracking apps. I mean, it's a wonderful thing that we're starting to have conversations about our menstrual cycle in the year 2024. Can't believe it took this long, but it's okay.
That's something that you didn't talk about back in the day. It was just like you have it, but nobody's supposed to know, it's that time.
Exactly. And there's this app called Me versus PMDD that was developed by a PMDD warrior, and I believe it was her mom as well. And it was very helpful for me in those first few months, getting a gauge on when the worst symptoms were going to hit, how they were hitting, if it was mostly in my body, mostly in my mood. And doctors will typically need about 3 months of tracking data in order to provide a diagnosis.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you coming on to educate us on this. Again, this is not something that you hear talked about a lot. Although we hear about other mental illnesses, we don't hear about this one. So thank you again for being transparent, being open and vulnerable to even talk about your story. I know it takes a lot. It is not easy to get on a platform and literally share your story in front of people. You take a chance of being judged and looked down on. But when you're walking in your purpose, you know you're doing the right thing. So thank you.
Right.
I encourage you to continue to reach out to other podcast shows and to share your story. I definitely will be putting the information out as well. And if there's anybody out there that is struggling with this, please see a doctor as soon as possible. If you're struggling with suicide, please reach out to someone. We will attach the suicide hotline to this video so that you would be able to contact someone. Please do not live in silence. Reach out to a friend, a family member, or call the suicide hotline that we will be attaching. Thank you for tuning in. Remember that it's only pain until you discover your purpose and start your healing journey. And we will see you next time.